Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. So today I'm coming to you with an FAQs type video. So frequently asked questions by first time buyers, whether they're for residential purposes or investment purposes. These are a lot of questions that I get from people in DMs, comments, just all over the place generally. So I thought, you know what, I might as well compile these because I'm sure that, you guys out there may also be having similar questions. So I thought, yeah, hopefully this will be an easy way to tackle all of these similar questions. So yeah, anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Actually, I do just want to say that if you see me looking away from time to time, it's because I am actually referring to my laptop where the questions are. So yeah, that's the only reason why. Question number one, how long does it take to complete the home or property buying process? So generally it can take anything from 8 to 12 weeks. That is if you're using a mortgage to purchase your property. And that's simply because, a number of variables do actually play into this. First of all, if you've got a seller that is relying on the fact that they need to buy another property before they can let go of the one that they're selling to you, then obviously that may or may not cause a delay in your purchase. On the other hand, there's also you as the buyer, and so if you're somebody that doesn't already have your mortgage application approved, you don't have a mortgage just yet, and you're still going through the application process, it may take a little while. It just depends on who you're working with, what your lender's like, how fast they are, and etc. So yeah, typically you can expect anything from 8 to 12 weeks or a couple of months for your whole property purchase to complete. If you're maybe someone that's not using a mortgage to purchase your property, then the whole process can be a lot quicker. If it's a case whereby the seller's vacated the property, you have your cash ready, and it's just a case of doing the legal aspects. How much do I need for a deposit? So if you're buying a home, so a residential property, you'll need anything from 5 to 15% as your deposit, and if it's an investment property, it will be anything from 20 to 25% as your deposit. How do I get the best mortgage deals? I think I may struggle with getting a mortgage due to low income. Right, so the first thing that I say to people that ask me this question is that you need to shop around. You need to speak to various mortgage brokers, mortgage advisors, use mortgage comparison sites, just use all the kind of resources that are available to you. And that is simply because one lender may not be able to offer you something, or one broker may not be able to offer you something, but if you go to another broker or another advisor, they may just have that product that is right for you and actually suit your affordability better. So yeah, always make sure that you shop around. That is definitely something that I did and really did help me when getting my first mortgage. So that's typically how you go about getting the best mortgage deals. But in terms of answering the aspect about how do I make sure I can get a mortgage if I'm on a lower income and things like that, well, there are a number of government schemes that are available to people to get their first property purchase. So first of all, you've got the 95% LTV mortgage, so basically the one that allows you to buy a property with just a 5% deposit. Now I know that a lot of people do scream about interest rates being high, but I always do say check it out for yourself first. Okay, speak to a mortgage advisor, see a scenario specific to yourself, and then make that decision. Is it worth it or is it not? Always get the right information first. There's also the help to buy equity loan from the government. So basically what the government do is that all you need to do is put down a 5% deposit, and then whatever else is required for that property deposit, let's say they require a 15% deposit, the government will loan you that 10% remainder after you've put down the 5%, making up that whole 15% deposit. Hopefully I haven't confused you there. But yeah, so they help you out with an equity loan. But the thing about this loan is that basically for the first 5 years, it is interest free. But after those 5 years, they start to charge you interest, and it increases on an annual basis, I believe. So really with the help to buy equity loan, what you want to do is have a plan in place to ensure that you can pay off that loan within the first 5 years so that you don't get those charges coming through. I do actually have a separate video on this topic, so I'm just going to link it in the cards and then you can watch that afterwards. Number 3, there's the nationwide help in hand mortgage. So basically what they are doing is that they are willing to give first time buyers 5.5 times their annual salary rather than just the typical 4 or 4.5. So yeah, that is a really good one if you're somebody that's looking to increase your affordability and maybe be able to buy a property that's a bit more expensive than typically you'd be able to afford with the usual mortgages out there. Number 4, maybe you can look into the right to buy scheme. So the right to buy scheme is for those people that live in social housing. So basically basically, if you're a social housing tenant, you can get a huge discount to be able to buy your property if you've lived there for a number of years. And finally, there are also specialist lenders who will be willing to give you a mortgage even if you earn less than 15k, I believe, and also if you have benefits that supplement your income. There are lenders out there that will take these things into consideration and still be willing to give you a mortgage. I'm going to link more information about that in the description box so you can read further into that. Do I need a property or home survey? So in short, I believe the answer is yes. Now obviously it's your choice at the end of the day, but I do advise that you should always get a survey done on your property, literally because it's going to tell you about any potential problems with a property before you go on to buy it. So it'll tell you things about structural issues, potentially issues with damp, cracks, electrics, a whole number of different things. And yeah, so basically I just think it's really worthwhile. Also, if you know about potential issues with a property you're interested in buying, that can also help you to negotiate the price down even further. So rather than overspending, you can say, hey, the survey has pulled up these things. Are you able to look into, resolving them before I buy them from you? Or can you take off X amount from, my price, because I'm going to have to work on these things after purchasing. So yeah, it's really, really worthwhile doing a survey to let you know what is up with a property before you get involved with it. When it comes to the cost of a property survey, this can vary from anything from £300 to £1,000 or just over £1,000, and it depends one on which type of survey you go for. So there are actually 3 levels, or 3 different types that you can go for. The first being the most basic, and then the third being a lot more comprehensive, and so more expensive. As well as that, your surveyor will also consider the price of your property to determine how much it will cost to do a survey on that property. And thirdly, your surveyor will also consider the size of your property. So whether it's a small flat, 1 or 2 bedroom flat, or maybe it's a house, with 2, 3, however many bedrooms. So all these kind of things will, have a role in determining how much your property survey will cost. When is the best time to start looking for properties? So I'd say actively you can start looking at properties maybe just before you have the deposit together, so maybe a couple of months before you have all of your deposits saved. And so I say that because then you can actively start looking at, okay, this is what my money can afford me in the current market. Obviously if you're looking a year beforehand, it may be a case whereby maybe properties were cheaper or even they were more expensive at that time. But if you look around the 2-month mark, then you can see what the active current market is saying in terms of price. However, I do also think it's not a bad idea if you start looking earlier, so maybe a year before you're going to be ready to buy a property. And that's simply because then you can start to think about, okay, where do I want to buy this property? What area do I want to live in? Also, do I want to buy a flat or do I want to buy a house? Also, there's how many bedrooms I want to buy, how much would I need to save to be able to afford that kind of property. And also it'll help you with planning again how much you need to start budgeting and thinking about putting aside for that property. I think forward planning is always a good idea, and I think really the answer to that is just staying on top of it. So looking couple years, planning what you want to buy, but then also nearer to the time, seeing realistically what your money can afford you. Should I get an investment property or a residential property first? Because I'm told as a first-time buyer, you get many benefits when getting a principal residence first. So yeah, that is true. When you buy a residential property first, there are a lot more benefits, there are a lot more savings, to be honest. So obviously when you get a residential property first, you can avoid stamp duty altogether. Secondly, there are a lot of government schemes available to help you. So as I mentioned earlier, things like 5% deposit scheme, that's only available to residential properties and not investment properties. And on top of that, let's not forget the fact that with residential properties, your deposit requirements are a lot lower. So with a buy-to-let mortgage, you need at least a 20 or 25% deposit, which is a lot heftier. And so to really answer this question, honestly, it's a personal choice. It comes down to, what your circumstances are and what your goals are. So for me, it was a choice of going for, investment property first because, I live at home with family. There was no issue. Nobody was forcing me out and things like that. Whereas if you're somebody that really, you have no choice but to get your own place, you may want to get a residential property first. And also, what are your goals? Again, my goal was really to get started with my investment property journey as soon as possible. Really, I didn't want to delay. Whereas if you're somebody that it's not so paramount to you, then again, maybe you can look into getting a residential first. In finalizing my answer to this question, though, I just want to say that, whether it's an investment purchase or a residential purchase, I feel that they are both investments, because really you are putting money into an asset. Okay, this is something that, at the end of the day, it's going to benefit you in a number of years' time. It's going to increase in value, and generally is going to continue in that upwards trend of growth. And so really, whether it's a case whereby, when it comes to retirement, you know that you've got a property that is mortgage free and is yours to live in, or whether it's a case whereby you want to use the property to leverage and build a portfolio later down the line, or do a number of different things because you've got more capital to your name. Either way, I see them both as investments. So I feel like whichever one you want to go for, it's still a good thing to do. And can you let out spare rooms on a residential mortgage? So yes, you can let out spare rooms on a residential mortgage. This is known as getting a lodger to rent a spare room or extra room in your property. Now, if you want to look into getting a lodger into your property, I would just say that you should check with your mortgage lender to make sure that this is okay and there's not going to be any breaches of your mortgage contract. Most times it will be okay, like there shouldn't be an issue, but really you just want to check for your own sake. If you have a residential property and you're thinking you'd like to rent out the whole property rather than just renting out one of the rooms to a lodger, then I'd say that you should get a consent to let from your mortgage lender, and then in future you can look into how you can convert it to a buy to let. If you're considering converting a residential mortgage to a buy to let, then I definitely say you want to do it at a point whereby you won't need to pay any exit fees when it comes to converting that mortgage to a buy to let. So you want to speak to a broker or your mortgage lender to see when the best time would be to make that change, because really you don't want to be paying any unnecessary fees if you don't need to. Is it better to get a buy to let property under a limited company? Yes, it is better to buy a buy to let property under a limited company, and this is because you get mortgage interest relief as well as certain tax benefits. A lot of property investors do buy their properties under limited companies. To be honest, a lot of people, if they didn't previously, are trying to move theirs under a limited company because you just save a lot more money that way. It's a lot more of an efficient way to manage your properties. I do actually have another video where I talk about buying a property under a limited company and why it's good to have an accountant manage all of this stuff for you. So I'm also going to link that video in the card so that you can refer to it after finishing this video. So guys, that brings me to the end of this video. That was 8 frequently asked questions that I get from first time buyers that are looking to buy residential and investment property. So hopefully you did find that useful. If you have done, please do give it a thumbs up. Also, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do also do that so that you can see more content like this. And as always, if you have any suggestions or video topics that you'd like me to cover, please do let me know in the comments and I'll make sure that I do so. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.